How did I choose the craft is a question that people ask me a lot. And to be honest, I don't know that I have a really great answer. I did software engineering for a very long time and just kind of burned out of it and had to find something else to do. Well, in the first place, my degree is in history, so I spent a lot of time in the stacks. And I've always been a reader and all the rest of that. And finally, after I decided not to do software anymore, found that the school is actually in Boston. And so I took a couple of continuing ed classes to see if it's something that I would enjoy, and it was. And I've been doing it now for about 10 years. There are so many different aspects to this craft. It's both an art and a craft. Like I tell people that I do repair. I don't do restoration, and I don't do conservation, but I do repair. When you bring a book to me to be fixed, I'll fix it. It'll look great. It'll work perfectly when you get it back and like that, but it may not look exactly like it did when it was new, but it'll be a perfectly functional book. Then as far as new things go, there is a field called design bindings, which is the more artistic aspect. That does have influences. There are people who work in gold, there are people who work in leather, and there are others spread around the country who do some pretty amazing things. The types of books that I repair, that's all over the map. There are people who bring in family heirlooms. For example, I have one or two over there that are like the old Golden Key children's books that have just fallen apart, but it was theirs when they were a little kid, 40, 50 years ago that they want fixed. I do a tremendous number of Bibles. Often they'll have notes in them over time that they don't want to lose. This book here is a book I'm repairing for the city. Structurally, this is called a springback, but this is for one of the city cemeteries. This is a cemetery plot book. This is number 4 of 6, which I think goes from 1923 to 1948. These are fascinating to look through. And then in other instances, there were old books that are falling apart that need to be repaired. For example, there was one who came in who was his, I want to say grandfather, had been in the infantry in World War I, and he had been in the Ardennes and other places like that, and it was his diary. People bring in new things. They want photo albums. I repaired a wedding album, for example, for their 50th anniversary. They wanted it back in one piece because it had all fallen apart. The equipment acquisition is a tough thing, primarily because most of this hadn't been made in 100 years. So I got very, very lucky in that in between my first and second year of school, someone sent a message out to one of the mailing lists that people subscribe to, and he was retiring and wanted to get rid of all of his stuff. I was able to acquire everything. The way that you make a book is so dependent on exactly what the book is and what it's going to be used for. There are different types of bindings for books that are going to be written in, like a journal, for example, or this one, which is a ledger, or versus like this, which is Tennyson, and this one's meant to be read. So the structure for this thing would be different from one that's going to be written in. These are typically, one of this age at least, the pages were printed on a great big sheet and then folded and cut into what's called a section or a quire. And then through the main fold on the spine, it's sewn, and they're sewn together. Sometimes they're just sewn together. Sometimes they're sewn together on tapes like this. Sometimes they're sewn together on cords. And if it's done on that sort of thing, that will end up, when you finally cover it, you'll see it will give you a raised band, if you can see this. Like you can see there's little raised bands here. Underneath each of these will be a cord. And then after that, the cords or tapes will be attached to the cover board. Every repair has its own unique requirements. This book is a book by Kerouac. This was done, this Merrimack Repertory Theater did a play based on this book. This is a book that Kerouac did not finish because he lost it in the back of a cab. And then it turned up at auction in 1984. So I took that book for exhibition at the at Merrimack Rep. But this is goat leather with black leather onlays. And then this one is one that I did for an exhibition that is The Theory of Relativity. This is done in goat leather with parchment and gold accents. And it's also done with graphite edges and then the relativity on the inside. The state of the bookbinding craft, there are many parts to that. The art is going strong. If you look out at some of the exhibitions, which you can find locally, you can find them either sometimes at the Boston Public Library, for example, sometimes at the Boston Athenaeum will have examples. The number of people doing it is dwindling. They're aging out. It's an older thing. A lot of people who go to school for this tend to go work for an institution. They don't go into retail like this. They'll sometimes do art on their own, but they will tend to go to an institution. They'll work for Harvard, they'll work for the BPL, or they'll work for the Athenaeum, or NEDCC in Andover, or something like that. Because I have to admit, it's hard to make a living. It's very hard. And a lot of people just aren't up to that. Like I said earlier, I ran a software company for 30 some years. I know how to run a business. A lot of people don't. And when you come down to like doing taxes or, you know, hiring people or doing just businessy things, it's not something a lot of people are interested in, and I honestly can't blame them. Yeah, if people are interested in either new art or repairs, I mean, people have all kinds of interests. Probably one of the best places to look, honestly, I hate to say it, is Instagram. And the best way to do that is to find one and then look at those hashtags, and that will send you to all of the others. Beyond that, one of the good places to go is to the Guild of Bookworkers. There's all one word, guildofbookworkers.org, and that has an index of all of the members throughout the country. If people are interested more in what I'm doing, you can always visit the website at middlesexbindery.com or drop by anytime. I'm here 9 to 4 every weekday except Wednesday. And although it's probably a good idea to call first just to make sure the train got me here, at 617-506-5725.